Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. If you're on your way back to the 413 from running the marathon, I hope you're icing up your muscles.
Later in the show, a preview of the Easthampton Film Festival with festival organizer Chris Ferry and filmmakers Christian Banda and KT Baldassaro.
And Khalees and I will learn from Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hamid about what we actually saw last Monday during the totality versus what we think we saw.
I think that the sun waved at us and said hello. But first, we take you to Double Edge Theater in Ashfield, where Travis Coe is workshopping and taking notes on his very personal one-man show that he has remounted called SUGA. It opens this Wednesday.
And my sister, she would say, Mommy, listen, I want to be like a yellow flower. Or maybe like a blue flower, or maybe like a red flower, like the ones that are growing in our garden. It's a dilemma, really, I feel like, doing this piece, because for me it really is, it's a ritual performance. I'm really inviting people to come witness what could be like me and the ancestors in this room, the gods and the goddesses, those who are witnessing from above, below, around, could really be in it, but it was a choice to make it a performance. And my brother, he would say, damn girl, make up your mind already. I'm content being a rotten, brown flower. Hi, I'm Travis Coe. I've been here now 8 years, and I started it 8 years ago. Right when I got here, I began working on it, though I didn't know it would be SUGA at all. I went through many different ideas in my head. And then actually, when Stacy and Carlos were going to come finally see the work, that's when something kicks into gear, and I was like, oh, I better have something. Because they had never really seen my work before, too. It was the first time that I was sharing something that was my own work. So I was like, let me really get into it. So I was working on something else that just really wasn't hitting it for me. It wasn't jiving. It was very text heavy. I thought it was going to be this script I was going to write, and then I was like, they're going to hate this, I should throw this away. So the week before, I'm scrambling, trying to think, and I think that's the best thing that happens, because that's when you're most imaginative, I think, sometimes, when you have to go for it. This running in the air was one of the first images that sparked the whole piece. I remember I was carrying something very heavy on my back, and I was walking back and forth. Then I was climbing and then running in the air. Then I would get back down, then I would carry this heavy thing. And that was a metaphor for me, all this weight, all the people who are there with me, who've been carrying for centuries, the ancestors in my family. And then this feeling of flight, which I really wanted to get somewhere with, especially seeing the work that was happening at Double Edge. I'm very grateful. It's just all the ancestors and the living who sort of helped me get here and to be doing it. And it feels different now. This iteration feels so different, because it's not as stressful in some ways. When you're at the beginning of something and you're sharing it for the first time, it's very scary. You don't know how people are going to take it. Also, I worked nude almost for months and months and months and months. And so we were having conversations can I do it nude? And it was that might be too much, penis flying around everywhere. Running.
Come see the show.
You gotta come see the show.
Something fantastic. In the spectacle, I now present to myself having run so far, so hard, across the ocean even, only to find myself brought up short once more before the bulldog in my own backyard.
I am Sage Crump. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I am one half of the Kinfolk Effect with Muti Reed, and I'm a visiting artist. There was a moment where you realized the bed was another cage, and you got to the top of it and you reached out and there was everything for me not to be hey, let me help you over. And I need to
Totally. I know. I'm looking at, and then I was looking at Carlos too, and I was like, are you not going to reach your hand out and grab me? And I really don't want people to do that.
So. You have to do it with your eyes. It's the equivalent of smizing,
totally.
but help.
You were so convincing, and you held that moment for a long time that I doubted if this was a moment like I thought because I wanted to. So, but then it's like, I'm a performer, so I shouldn't do that.
Yes, exactly.
Carlos Uriona. I'm an actor, first and foremost, and then they asked me to be the cultural strategist, and I'm trying to figure out what that is.
I feel like one of the other things that major point of this is that growth also costs something.
I say love is a growing up. And that's one of the, actually, that's probably one of the most heartbreaking things. It's one of the most heartbreaking things that I probably, and I don't know, I feel like now, before, like 4 or 5 years ago, that line, it was like love was a war was probably more. But as I'm growing up, you really feel like it is actually more of a battle to like fight for that freedom. Also in my daily life as a co-artistic director, as a family member, as a husband, as a friend, as a lover to the people around me, I'm holding so much more. And so I really feel like I'm fighting for everyone's freedom around me, and that so that we can do what we love to do and can do. It really is, it touches me, that line, for sure right now. It feels personal.
It's just at a certain age, like love is a growing up. And growing up in a physical body, it's painful. Like your bones creak, your teeth fall out. It's not easy. So like this idea of like love, which often, love, it's often like that. Like the idea of it is it's a growing up just inherently is like, oh, there's some aches in there.
Yes.
There's some aches.
But like, who gets love with all of the beauty and none of the scars? Like
People in movies?
Totally. Like, who gets love without all of that? And I feel that to me is like right now, and that's what's like kicking my ass the most, is that like my body's also changing, and this performance was made for like a 22-year-old.
Life offers us a choice of remembering the garden or forgetting it. Either or, it takes a certain kind of strength to remember. It takes another kind of strength to forget.
There's also a precision that comes with a work like this. It's not just like an open improvisation, though you have to be open to what you're receiving and what I'm giving. So,
in light of that, does this particular production feel like an evolution or a graduation?
Oh, I think probably when I die, I graduate something. I don't know why I suddenly got emotional about it, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's fine. It's definitely an evolution. I'm so much stronger because of it, and I'm so much stronger because of all the other work that I've done in between it and around it, and I will probably always do one piece for the rest of my life. I'm in every single work that I've done since my time at Double Edge, and I'm so thankful. I'm very grateful for it because like I get to infuse all of me and everything, and that it's allowed. It's a real gift, and I do not take that for granted. So I don't know if I will graduate, but I will definitely have many evolutions and revolutions.
I think the whole arc of this conversation that we're having, it has been a dream for us. It takes a lot of support to get somebody to go through these stages in life, and for you to see a performance that has that arc of life inside. It's very difficult to produce that to the point that nobody does it right now in the world. That has been abandoned. So when Travis came, he knew a lot of things, and he started this. But this, at that moment, was one thing. But today, he's a artistic director. He's responsible for a lot of here, and with a husband, and with a lot of other things. All that is present in the work. And I had, in my opinion, if you tell me what did I see in 2018 when we saw it together, Monty and me, and what I see today, I can see that. So you're not anymore 25, and that is there in a beautiful way. That was some dream that we had years ago about creating this, and Stacy coined this idea of living culture, which was a theater that transcends what happens on stage.
I'm Stacy Klein, and I am the founder of Double Edge, and now I'm the vision strategist. When Travis started this, it was something to attain. Now he can attain the peace. When you started, you were discovering or trying to understand what ritual was, what that dance was, what the God inside of you was. That was all things to try to find. And now Travis has access to all of those things. He's worked for that. So the piece is really different internally, although externally it's very similar.
I'm not trying to attain attain anything right now. I think that's so relieving. Before it was like, oh, this is gonna make me a great actor. Or this is gonna be like, this is gonna be my.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. It's gonna be like, it's gonna be a vehicle, and people are gonna see me in this way. And actually, I don't really care about any of that stuff anymore. I think because I have real things to deal with now.
But which ironically makes you a better actor.
Yes,
I think
totally.
the thing that I noticed most about it is how much more in it you were, how much more intense it was since the last time I saw it. It was stunning and compelling. And like, you're not only leaving it all out there physically as you are almost completely nude during such a large portion of it, but you left everything out there. You literally go from birth through the entire human experience, and it's left out there on the floor in a way that it must be exhausting, but it's so compelling as an audience member.
And it's also great because when you leave it all out there too, like I used to carry it a lot with me at home, and now I don't have to. It's like everything happens in that space. It's a container. It's a container for this ritual to happen. So I feel relieved, obviously, because it's a huge undertaking to do something like that. But I'm like, all right, now I go home and I deal with the domestic things.
You're not going to talk about those, right?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about those.
Muti Reed, I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm a visiting artist here at Double Edge. I wanted to know more about the ancestor work that you had to do to be in that space. Yeah. Like over time, like what was the conversations like?
It's a difficult thing to maybe like for me to put into words because it's a feeling and it's a calling too. And there is a response. Like some days it's very strong, and other days I'm like, where are you? Today, for instance, very strong, very palpable for me. And I was even thinking to myself, oh, this is a lot right now. There's a lot of information coming at me, and there's a lot being said to me. And I think there's also a moment where you have to find some sort of quiet. I think today was definitely harder to achieve a certain type of quietness for myself because I just felt there was a lot of information coming in. But that's also great because it's like those days are great because you're getting all of that sort of like affirmations that go harder.
But I think there's some really concrete things that happened at the beginning. Travis did a lot of research with his people in Belize, and that was part of the whole beginning of us trying to work. Actually, it was like more realistic about a history of your ancestry in Belize, and also your father was a big part of your research. It wasn't just an open thing that you were doing. Not. You did a huge amount of concrete work on that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for uplifting that because I feel it's really important.
There's a moment where I was like, huh, but then it's clear that you've done the ancestor work. This person is in it. Yeah. They have this relation. Like I feel it in my ancestors, so I know that you feel it.
Yeah, there were literal translations for me. Like when you had that bed and that was the egungo. It's like things were collecting onto you, and that was one of the materials of your egun.
Yes.
Exactly. That was very powerful.
I'm Victor. I'm an Aroma associate here and performer. We are told to act and told to pretend to be other things, and we're never told to bring ourselves and how can you relate to the things we're doing. And I think watching the process that I'm watching now, it's very eye-opening in the way of, unlike what people tell your ancestors, your past is actually very important to your work. It should be at the forefront of what you're doing, not an afterthought kind of. And I think very grateful as well, very appreciative to see that unfurling in front of me. I'm allowed to have this space to take a step back and really dive into what work I want to do. There's never comfort in what I was doing, and now there's comfort and the space to really dive into what I want to do.
I was just thinking when we were talking that Travis and I spent, I think, a year in an attic with one light and a bucket, and him almost all the time unclothed. And
It was the best year of my life.
was it, Monty? It's the best year of your life? I think that because Travis comes with all that energy of somebody extremely talented and young and maybe a little arrogant, and that can go together also with kindness and gentleness and everything. So I want to be clear about that. But he was so able externally that he really needed the time to be alone and to go into his internal world without having to worry about, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to be great and I'm going to do that and I'll be great. And he would be. But this piece required, or at least as I saw it, it required him to just go deeper and deeper into himself. For me, that process of helping somebody find their inside, that's all I really want to do in my work. And that's what I think is also missing from theater. And he was really willing to do that. There's a lot of resistance from almost everybody to that process, but not Travis. He was like, yes.
And when it came to me, I would say, Mommy, 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 I want to be, the colors. I want to be todos los colores.
I'ma keep on running cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
Eavesdropping on the remounting of Travis Coe's SUGA. The production runs this Wednesday through Sunday, April 17th through 21st at Double Edge Theater in Ashfield.
It's beautiful.
It really
Later
is.
in the show, comedy, horror, animation, documentary, and drama. All the types of film that you can catch at the 3rd Annual Easthampton Film Festival. We'll talk with folks from that.
Up next, Khalees and I are still high off witnessing the totality during last week's eclipse, and Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hamid, Mr. Universe, will help us understand what we actually saw.
We saw solar high fives. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We broke down in Rutland, Vermont, and I'm like, we're so close. We can't miss it. So I rented a car. We drove 30 miles north to New Haven, Vermont, not Connecticut.
Okay, now this was crazy because we were also in Rutland, Vermont.
I thought you might have to come pick us up.
We thought about it. By that time, we had already, we were a little bit further away. But no, that question did come up in our car.
Should we rescue them?
Yeah, it was like, and it's like, okay, well, but how is it going to work?
Yeah, there wouldn't have been enough room.
We thought about all of these things, but so we made the decision. So for people who don't know, these were last-minute decisions for the eclipse.
For both of us, really.
So we were actually originally going to Dallas, Texas, and after, I would say, at least 2 weeks of obsessively checking the weather, pretty much every 10 minutes or so, it was like, okay, this is not looking good, and so we canceled. We had gotten refundable tickets for my 10-year-old son and my wife, we were all going. We canceled our plans on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And then we decided, okay, Burlington, here we come. So we got a place in Rutland, Vermont.
Right where I broke down.
Exactly. And by the way, that was the only room available. So I don't know how we got it. And then it looked like Burlington was a little iffy. And also we knew Burlington looked like it's going to be very crazy because they were planning on shutting down roads. So we decided to go to Newport, Vermont, which is right on 91. You take it all the way to basically to the Canadian border. And it's a beautiful lake over there. Never been there. Town of 4,000 people. And so that's where we went.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We are at the Amherst Kitchen Table of Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hamid, Mr. Universe, for our kitchen table astronomy, and we're both still reeling from Path of Totality, Total Eclipse of the Heart. I publicly thanked Khalees for saying, hey, don't go, we shouldn't go to Springfield on that day, we should experience this. But also, you have been encouraging me since 2017, when the last eclipse happened and we were not in the Path of Totality here, to make plans to go. And even though the plans were last minute, you're absolutely correct.
Look, I'm going to say a few things, that my next few words are going to be harsh.
Okay.
But I have to say this. Because I'm still meeting people who say, you know, it was pretty good. 95% that was here. It was pretty good. It was quite amazing.
Yeah.
I hate to say this. I cannot. I don't want to. I'm not a mean person. Monty, you've known me for a while.
I know.
I'm not that mean. I can be mean, but not that mean. But I have to say, that 5%, I mean, it is really different. If you get a chance to see the total eclipse, see it, because it is life-changing. I mean, I think, I mean, as you said, I mean, reeling in a positive way. Yeah, we are still thinking about it because it is really incredible.
I mean, as evidenced by the multiple times I've played the clip on the air, when the totality hits in the audio that I played, you hear a woman in the background scream bloody murder. Yeah. And then we all just started screaming.
Well, okay.
Oh my, that is crazy. It was a reaction like I could not have anticipated.
Next to the lake, there were probably a few thousand people there, more. I don't know how many people were there. And that weather was just perfect. It was not too cold, not too warm. So again, in Vermont, northern Vermont. And as soon as the sun went away, it got really cold.
Yeah.
Very quickly. That was weird. But this was about 3.5 minutes. And you had plenty of time to really think about it. The sun's corona that became visible. So that's when the moon really covers the sun. Then you have the halo around the sun.
So those wispy things that were gases is the corona.
That's right. And you normally don't see it because the sunlight is there. But when it blocks it, that's when you can see the corona. And it's beautiful. But for me, one really surprising thing, which I didn't expect, was, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but there was a red line.
We started freaking out. We were like, that's a solar flare, it's a solar flare.
Well, it's a prominence. So these are these solar arches, which are from where the flares oftentimes comes from. These are like huge. So
okay, so it wasn't a solar flare.
It wasn't exactly a solar flare. These are, you can think of plasma from the sun being trapped in these magnetic fields around the sun. Uh-huh. So if you have, so there are these telescopes called H-alpha telescopes that can look at this particular light. Mm-hmm. That you can see actually if you are looking in this H-alpha telescopes. In this particular case, they're not as bright to see when the sun is out, but if the sun gets blocked, you see that. And the light emits red color.
Yeah.
That's the reason it just looked like a red line over there.
It was cool. It looked like fuchsia. It was very like kind of weird pinkish red.
And that was a total surprise. I mean, one of the other things is that sun goes through a cycle of more activity and less activity. And that's about an 11-year cycle. Right now, sun is going through an active phase compared to last time. And so this is one of the reasons why we were able to see that potentially. I mean, usually you can see prominences other times too. But this was a completely unexpected and spooky.
Yeah.
But apart from everything else, I mean, a lot of people have been asking, did you take pictures and other things? And we really didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it.
I know you well enough to know you wouldn't waste the time to take... NASA's going to take some great pictures. I saw some incredible NASA photos. I saw some incredible actual professional photographers' photos too. My silly little iPhone ain't going to do crap. I want to look at this with my own eyes.
Just experience it. Yeah. I mean, and that is something, again, it goes back to this thing. 2017, we watched it with a few people because we were out on the road chasing clear skies. And so wherever the time was clear, and we just stopped in a parking lot and observed it. Here, seeing with so many people, that was an incredible experience. If you think about it, these things have been happening for billions of years. And we still get amazed at it because we are being connected with something right there happening in the sky. Something very strange because it does get dark. You do see stars. You did see Venus that appeared.
I saw that immediately. It blew my mind. I didn't even remember that was going to happen.
And many other stars that appeared over there. It gets dark and then it's over. I mean, suddenly it's like back to normal.
Yeah.
It is amazing. It is visceral. It is experiential. And that just stays with you. It's just the normalcy that comes back so quickly. It's hard to put that to mind. There was a small downtown area. There were lights that came out. Actually, my son, he noticed that. He was like, did you see those lights? And again, this is one of those things. I did not, but he noticed it. He was like, all those lights came out. This is middle of the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's like 3:30. And those are the various things that you see where the sky is not fully dark, but it's like late evening, post-sunset, late evening, dark blue sky and getting darker.
The light was indescribable to me. I'd never seen light like that. It looked ashy, it looked gray. But then after the totality, it felt like dawn.
Right, yes.
Like it did really look like the morning again, that was something I didn't expect. Did you have a lot of bugs come out where you were? We got bombarded by gnats and mosquitoes out of nowhere. Like right as the darker it started to get, I still have mosquito bites on my ankles from it.
Well, keep those bites, man. I mean, those are special bites. Those are the solar eclipse bites. So you should keep them. No, we did not notice those. And again, maybe those bugs that we were on that lake, they were smart enough. They were like, that's just an eclipse.
We're not going to be fooled by this.
Yeah, exactly. But I did hear on Wait, Don't Tell Me, another NPR show. Yeah. They were talking about that apparently spiders start to take down their webs when they think, hey, it's
must be the end of the universe.
It must be the nighttime, so let's take off the web. And that was so strange. It's in a few minutes, basically. But all of that said, for honesty purposes, for clarification purposes, I should mention that when we started to drive down back to the valley, and we were actually staying on our way back in Hanover, which was about 100 miles from Newport, Vermont. And it took us 7 hours to get back.
We only hit traffic in Greenfield.
Oh.
Khalees navigated us. Okay, my wife had to come pick us up to rescue us because the car wasn't ready.
Right.
And then Khalees helped navigate us through the back roads of that Rutland area. And then we finally jumped on 91. And then there's traffic in Greenfield because of the construction.
So just to let you know, that 91 traffic that you hit on Greenfield, that was coming all the way from Newport, Vermont, and we were literally going about 20 miles an hour or less, bumper to bumper. And on the one hand, yes, it was crazy. Here is a shout out to Lyndonville, Vermont, and the hardworking people who were working at the only store that was open to provide food, and that was a Subway. There were lines out the door of Subway. That was the only place that was open. And there were these young guys who were just working. And I was like, man, how is it? And the guy said, I was like, how are you guys doing? And the guy responded, he said, it makes me feel alive. and I have to say, that must have been the most delicious Subway sandwich I've had. So 2 things I would say to that. One, that did not diminish the eclipse experience, and we kept on, and it's like, yeah, sure, who cares? 7 hours.
You're not going to really remember sitting in traffic for 7 hours.
But the other thing is, isn't it amazing that so many people came out to see this celestial phenomena that happened for a few minutes, and we were all part of that.
Yeah.
It also made me a little bit sad that we don't have public transportation, that we were all driving cars and, of course, polluting the environment. And by the way, funny eclipse or bust painted on back of a car. There were other funny stickers. But in some sense, it also gives me faith in humanity because, we are all busy looking at the phones. If you have even 5 minutes, you or 1 minute, and you go like, I'm bored, I want to look at the phone. But here, people actually came from many different places. I met many people over there in Newport, Vermont, that just came to look at the moon pass in front of the sun in its orbit as it has done for billions of years. And yet, it was a spectacular show.
Did NASA or any astronomers that you know of learn anything from this particular eclipse?
They had a lot of plans regarding that, including citizen science. So they had actually asked a lot of amateur astronomers as well to look at, because as the eclipse comes in, so this eclipse started in Mexico, and then basically it went through Texas and across the US and up to Vermont and then into Canada. So they were asking amateur astronomers to take pictures, to take data all the way through, because you can still tell differences on these shorter time frames, because the corona of the sun, these prominences, these do change over a short period of time. So that is just one thing. There was also scientific planes that were going over there.
Could you take a scientific plane and follow the whole path of totality the whole time?
It goes very fast.
No.
You cannot keep up with it. But otherwise, people do try it. So you can do it for a little bit. But the speeds and all of that stuff, it's very high. But the next thing I'm going to say, Monty, again, don't tell anyone. But I have started to make plans. So there is a total eclipse in 26. That's going to be Russia, Greenland, Iceland, and northern Spain. That's going to be about 2 minutes or so. But I have started making plans for the one on, I think it's on August 2nd, 2027. And that is going through Gibraltar and Morocco, then Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. But on Egypt, it's passing right on top of Luxor. Whoa! So don't tell anyone, because I don't want everybody to be cramming over there. It's going to be 7.5 minutes long. I mean, this was 3.5 minutes, and it was, wonderful. That's going to be 7.5 minutes long. And this is also in areas where the likelihood of clouds is very low.
Right.
But
the likelihood of like mummies or the Egyptian gods reaping their wrath against you and us during that eclipse, I think real high.
Worth it. Totally worth it. But it is the thing. I've already looked at weather maps, in terms of their average cloudiness and things like that. So this actually looks pretty good. I tried to look for hotels as well, but unfortunately they don't reserve it 3 years in advance. But I've always wanted to go to Tunisia. Never been there, or Algeria. So I think we'll be looking for Algeria or Tunisia.
I have been to Luxor.
Me too.
It is amazing.
It is amazing. It's beautiful. It's just a magical place. But it was not crowded. When we went there actually right before the Arab Spring started. In fact, we were there about 2 weeks before the Arab Spring. Luxor is going to be incredible.
Okay, 2027 Fabulous 413 field trip, Tunisia.
August 2nd.
If we go to Tunisia, do we get to look at all of the old Star Wars sets?
We can do whatever you want on that field trip. We'll start planning now. We'll plan better now for that eclipse than we did for this last one.
Separately for that part.
Join NEPM and Monty and Khalees in the Fabulous 413 in Tunisia. I've been pushing for this since we started the show.
Oh my goodness. Up next, we'll hear about the 3rd annual Easthampton Film Festival with organizer Chris Ferry and filmmakers Christian Banda and KT Baldassaro.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, homegrown in Hatfield, Massachusetts, and providing energy savings for their customers for over 10 years. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Khalees Smith. The 3rd annual Easthampton Film Festival begins Thursday, May 2nd and runs through Sunday, May 5th, screening 38 independent films from around the world, more than half of which are by Massachusetts-based filmmakers.
Joining us is festival organizer Chris Ferry, who was on the show last year before the festival, as well as filmmakers Christian Banda and KT Baldassaro. Christian Banda will screen his very funny film 98 Honda, and KT Baldassaro's movie Girl in the Basement screened as part of last year's festival. She'll be moderating the panel discussion after the collected shorts called Women in Horror,
Psyched
which
about that.
looks like it'll be very exciting. Thank you all for joining us.
Ooh, thank you for having us. For real.
Yeah, so this is the... Easthampton has so many great things going on, and now with 3 years in a row of a film festival, 38 films ain't nothing to shake a stick at. Tell us a little bit about what we might expect, festival organizer Chris Ferry.
Thanks. You're gonna see a little bit of everything, right? Documentary, comedy, some horror, women in horror,
Yeah,
drama. It's it's a really great lineup this year, if I do say so myself, and there's something for everybody.
The films will be at Abandoned Building, E-Media, and City Space, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Nice.
You've condensed the timeline from last year a little bit.
Yeah.
Was that a little hard was that unwieldy having it over several weeks and scheduling around people in that amount of time as opposed to just getting everybody together for 4 days and calling it good?
Yeah, I think it's begun to feel like, it's going to be one big, long, fun weekend, and then we can relax.
And there'll be a lot of filmmakers involved with this, too. So there'll be screenings, and many of them, there'll be talkbacks with the filmmakers afterwards, right? So it becomes sort of a networking opportunity. If you have made a film that's in the festival or are interested in the world of filmmaking, these are the places to go and have these conversations.
Absolutely. Every single screening's got to talk back with at least one of the filmmakers attending, and we've got great turnout. We've got people coming from Canada, from all over the place to talk about their films, and that's actually my favorite part, and I love the movies.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Tell us about Lisa Black, who is going to be doing one of these Q&As. She's a Hollywood filmmaking person.
Yeah, she's
very fancy.
Very
Hollywood
fancy.
comes to Easthampton.
Yes. She's the co-chair of the Producers Guild of America in the D.C. region, and she produced one of the films, the Fast Track program. And so she's agreed to do a panel conversation that one of the stars of the film, Wally Marzano-Lesnevich, who you met last year.
Was on the show last year, yeah.
Is in. So he's going to interview her James Lipton style, and we're just going to learn all about what it's like to produce a movie from the authority.
Especially because I don't think people really necessarily understand what goes into actual production. I only know from talking with my sister, who did production and film for years. And even then, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg. It covers so much ground.
Yeah, so I think that's a great opportunity. We're going to have a reception at E-Media, have some wine and cheese, and I encourage everybody to come and just learn something about how the sausage gets made and meet some of the people that do it, and it's going to be great.
And then you can go off and make your own sausage.
That's right.
Exactly.
Like Christian Banda did.
Well, what a segue. This man's a professional.
How about that?
Tell me about it.
Now, Christian, you grew up in the area, left to go to New York City, and then what brought you back here?
I wish it was under my own auspices, but I was actually forced out of New York due to the strikes last summer, and on top of that, my landlord sold our building.
Fun.
So, yeah, it was awesome. All of a sudden, after being there for 13 years, I had an empty U-Haul out front, and I had to squeeze my whole life into it and move back home with my mom. Shout out, Mom. Love you. Thank you for having me back.
And home is Longmeadow.
Home is Longmeadow, Massachusetts. Correct, yeah.
But what you were doing in New York is pretty amazing.
Thanks. My last big gig was I was a segment producer with The Daily Show with Trevor Noah for 4 years. And, great people in that building. Had a lot of fun there. Learned most of everything I know right now. But I decided to leave, I decided it was time for me to go, kind of right around the time that Trevor left. And, I thought the sky was the limit. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
It's time. It's time for the next part of my career. And then the strike happened.
Right.
Landlord sold the building back home. But, from moving back home came this awesome project, 98 Honda, that, it's my directorial debut, and I'm really proud of it.
I mean, you weren't necessarily wrong. It's just taking a little bit longer.
It's not linear. That's
exactly
what they say. Yeah. Exactly.
And Roy Wood, who is from The Daily Show, and an excellent, super funny comedian, is
Roy
involved
Jr.
in this 98 Honda project.
Yes. We have who I consider to be the best comic in the world. Roy Wood Jr. Is one of our EPs, one of our executive producers, and the other EP is Ronnie Chang, also from The Daily Show.
Yeah, nice.
And I got to become genuine friends with them, and they were mentors at my time there at The Daily Show. And once I left, me and my boy Niles, Niles Abston, comic from LA, he wrote the movie and stars in it as Michael Pope. We all just kind of, got the gumbo going, and we showed them our ideas, showed them the cut, and they signed on, and now we're a cool team going forward.
Let's hear what Roy Wood Jr. There's so many Roy Jr.'s out there. What Roy Wood Jr. had to say about 98 Honda.
98 Honda is what you want to be running with right now. A little sci-fi, a little comedy, a little action. I'm Roy Wood Jr. I approve this message. Niles and Christian, what they have created is something amazing that you have not seen before, and you want to get in on this immediately with an E.
And Christian is Christian Banda, who joins us in studio now.
What's different about producing segments for The Daily Show as opposed to, and taking that knowledge and applying it to direction?
That's a great question. I think the attention to detail is the same. It's even more heightened as a director when you're balancing, 80 trillion plates. But I will say you had a bit more time in the bunker as a producer. Granted, it wasn't much time because at the end of the day, we had to, make the show.
It is a daily show.
Yes.
We know the grind.
Yes.
And we did it. We do it 5 days a week.
Yeah, we do it 4. Y'all got me. Y'all got me good. So the attention to detail, the, having a short memory in terms of mistakes you've made and capitalizing on them, those are transferable qualities. But as a producer, you're really in the bunker. You're researching sometimes deep dive pieces for weeks on end. My last piece at The Daily Show was a deep dive on Herschel Walker. And I don't think I fully recovered, honestly. That was a 4-month project.
Wow.
I was in the hole for. But, you kind of just get more time to mold and sit with the product, and you kind of then let it go on air. As a director, I was with this from the beginning. It all started, me and Niles, we got a beer together. It's really funny. The night I quit The Daily Show, I was like, oh, that was tough. I need to laugh. And I saw Niles was in town. He had this incredible joke that went viral right around the time Chappelle did all his anti-trans stuff. And he's like, I can do a trans joke. And it was incredible. I followed him. We'd never met, but I saw him on a lineup from LA in Brooklyn doing a set that night. So I was like, let me take my bike, ride on over to Union Hall. Shout out Union Hall, Brooklyn. Saw Niles. He did his set, crushed, and I dapped him up. I was like, let's get a beer next week. So I got a beer with the man next week, and we were talking, and he's like, yo, I have this script called 98 Honda. You want to take a look? Like, we were like 4 beers in. I was like, hell yeah, send it my way. Excuse me. Pardon me. Send that my way. So he sends it my way. I was really depressed, so it took me 6 months to read it. And the moment I did, I got my people together. I got our DP Eric Schleicher. I got line producer Lindsay Steer, Niles, and then we started fundraising, storyboarding, pre-pro. Shot it. We loved it. And
shot it in Longmeadow, right?
Shot it in Longmeadow. Shot it in East Longmeadow. Shot it in Springfield. Shot it in Agawam.
And Agawam is the site of the movie theater that is in this clip that we'll hear right before we start to talk about the women in horror. Let's hear a clip from 98 Honda.
2 for Spider-Man 2? What time? 1 o'clock. Oh, that's sold out. All right, 4. Oh, that's sold out too. What's not sold out, bro? Oh, everything's sold out. Niggas love Spider-Man, bro. So why'd you let me waste my time? Oh, man, it'd just be cool to have somebody to talk to sometimes. What? You can watch The Notebook. There's some good movies, man. I was supposed to take a 9-year-old to go see a rom-com? Hey, it's not a rom-com, bro. That's a beautiful movie.
I laughed out loud when I saw
My favorite thing about that clip is you walk up to the booth and the sign already says that the movie is sold out. It's just so beautiful.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Which is very indicative of Pope, the character.
Yeah.
He's always kind of straight lining, not really taking in his surroundings. So.
Well, we're going to hear more about that movie from Christian Banda, 98 Honda, and we're also going to hear more about the film festival in Easthampton happening May 2nd through 5th with Chris Ferry, but we want to hear about women in horror and Girl in the Basement with KT Baldassaro after this.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Small black bag and a big black coat. I'd have you make a
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We're talking about the Easthampton Film Festival, which will run May 2nd through May 5th with the festival organizer Chris Ferry, as well as filmmakers Christian Banda and KT Baldassaro, whose movie Girl in the Basement debuted, maybe, or premiered, was shown at the last festival last year. Tell us about that movie that you star in and wrote, right?
Yeah, I both directed it, starred in it, and wrote it.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, it started with, it started the way that anything good starts, which is spite and a bet.
Uh-huh.
I had been talking to a friend of mine who said, we were talking about Eli Roth and body horror and extreme horror and the concept of, is there a message behind this? And could you bother to try and make something with a message? And being super aggressive about loving horror, I felt like, yeah, you can, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this on, and I will prove to you that you can. And so Girl in the Basement is a body horror. So I do warn people, if you go to watch it, it's going to be intense. It is fully available on YouTube if you want to. But it is an allegory for the type of personality that gets drawn into anorexia. And it's really so appropriate for this panel that we're hosting, Women in Horror, because a lot of times people look at horror and they think, like, it's not for women. This is a space where most of the victims are gonna be women, and so you feel like you're not included. And body horror specifically talks about the fear of losing your body autonomy, and that is a real fear for women. So when you get films like my film or like Audition, where women can turn that on its head and take back their autonomy, it becomes deeply powerful, and it's just a great way to use the medium with modern horror.
I feel like you have women on both sides of the coin there, because you've got like women who are often the victims, but then there's the final girl factor to horror as well, where often the final survivor of horror movies is a woman in some capacity. But what else? What other things are you bringing into this Women in Horror panel? Because I'm psyched already.
Oh yeah, Chris, we've got a bunch of different stuff. Some really interesting. It kind of goes the full gamut. You're gonna get stuff that's gonna be funny and stuff that's gonna be horrific, and that's really what's so interesting about the genre. People want to say they want to pigeonhole it, but it really is a very, very broad stroke that you can work with, and it's interesting to see it come from a perspective that isn't usually included when you talk about this.
Is this your first movie? And have you tried genres other than horror with your own filmmaking skills?
Not with my own filmmaking skills, although I have started to kind of beta around little things. I do a lot of stuff on TikTok at Movie Runtime, and so I'm betaing stuff for my next short, but it is also going to still be horror, comedy horror. I really love FX and FX makeup and stuff like that, so I keep getting drawn into that particular aspect of it, although I have been in other movies. I've been in comedies and things like that, in dramatic roles. Horror just has such a wonderful community behind it. I keep falling back into it and being like, my people, yes.
What is it about horror? I mean, what were the movies that inspired you, that made you believe that you could take this bet and go and make this movie with a message?
That's such a great question, because it can be something that's so highbrow, like Stalker, which is a Russian sci-fi horror film that nobody's going to debate, like that is classic cinema. But it can also be like Evil Dead, like lots of gallons of blood, lots of camp. So I think those kinds of movies, when you see them, you think, oh my God, I could do this. I could make a movie like this. Horror kind of invites you in. It doesn't say like you need to have $1 billion budget. You really need to have people behind you. It says you got a premise. Why not try and shoot it? And I think that's why a lot of people's first films wind up being in that genre.
And there will be a Women in Horror panel as part of the Easthampton Film Festival that runs Thursday, May 2nd through Sunday, May 5th. And Chris Ferry is the festival organizer. Anything else that you want to highlight before we run out of time here about this festival?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the primary reason I started this was to make friends and meet other people that like what I like. And that has so exceeded my wildest dreams. I met both of these folks through this festival. They're going to come and meet other folks. This area is literally crawling with talented, interesting filmmakers, and I'm over the moon about it. So come be a part of it.
Can we hear one more clip from 98 Horror? This is 98 Honda, not horror. 98 Honda.
This is 98 Horror is a very different.
Get us together.
This is Christian Banda's film, and this is there was an officer has pulled over the main character.
Well. What you doing on this out of town, girl? Girl? Wait, Brittany? How you know Brittany? Well, my lines may be thin and blue, but I like my women brown and thick. Dispatch, we got a stolen car. What? No. Come on, man. That's right, a stolen car. This one looks like he got one of those GEDs. Man, out of the vehicle. What? Out of the vehicle, sir. On the hood of the car. Over here. Come on. How do you know Brittany? It's my girlfriend, bro. It's her car. That's a lie. She says she doesn't even like relationships.
That's from 98 Honda. Even with just the few clips I've seen, this movie seems like it's going to be dynamite.
I can't wait to see the full scope of it. And I want to really quickly ask you about the documentary about the Green River Festival, because it is like doubly like local centric.
Yeah.
We have less than a minute.
I know.
Okay, real quick. It's awesome. It really captures the flavor of the festival and the love that everybody brings to it every year. So that alone is worth checking that screening out for.
Right.
You can find out all the information about all the panels and learn about all the filmmakers at Easthampton Film Festival.com. Thanks once again to Chris Ferry, Christian Banda, and KT Baldassaro for coming in to tell us about this and telling us about your great movies.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah. Tomorrow, for the first time in our over 1 year history, the Fabulous 413 will focus on things that are happening outside of the Fabulous 413, but both with strong connections to the Western Mass area code.
We'll talk to folks from the Harriet Beecher Stowe Center just down the road in Hartford about the Garden of Literacy event.
And we'll go to Kuwait to hear about a book called The Book Censor's Daughter, but it was published out of a book house in Amherst. So
and
we're
see
good.
how
We're covered.
censorship is a universal issue. We'll see you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.